Our next agenda item is under discussion action. However, it's not an action item for this evening. It's just for discussion. Karen has been working closely with Carducci and Associates, and Vince is here to share his report, which, by the way, is an excellent report. And I think while we're not ready to make any decisions tonight around turf or even temporary lights, this is a good report for you to have in your pocket when you move forward toward a general obligation bond. Welcome.
Thank you very much. So I just wanted to briefly go through the report. It's in front of you. It's extensive. It covers a lot of information. But first of all, the rationale for doing the report was because MCAL changed the season for soccer to winter. And the natural turf fields just will not, they're not able to take that play during the winter season, so we looked at synthetic turf. There was an earlier proposal brought to you of just putting a field in the size of a soccer field, and you wanted to see a larger report of better utilization of the entire site. So we did a couple plans, and we met with athletic directors, principals, and the site committees, and developed the plans. And we wanted to give you the background of why this makes sense. So you get about 600 to 700 hours of play out of a turf field. You get 3,000 hours of play out of a synthetic turf field. That's not having lights, just 3,000 hours because of its ability to take the play. And we wanted to be able to make sure that there was an ability to have facilities that were adequate to serve the needs. And the needs are not future needs, these are present needs. You're going to start using this program in the winter as soon as the 2015 season is upon us. And it's coming around the corner quite quickly. So we wanted to be able to provide you with cost and overall cost given the overall site development, including all the DSA required improvements of lighting, ADA improvements, so that you weren't surprised later when you, what I don't like to see school districts doing is going in with a project, getting a budget, and then having a real project started, and DSA has all these requirements. We're aware of them. We work with them every day. We want to make sure you're aware of them so you fund them when time comes. And we've given you all this in 2015 dollars, so the overall cost of $3.5 million for a new field at Novato High School and $4 million for a field at San Marin High School. This is a conversion, but it includes all the necessary improvements that would be required by DSA. We also looked at the existing track and field so you could get a sense of what would it cost to resurface those fields. And those fields are still safe as far as the GMAX rating. They're not terrible. They're outliving their warranty for a couple years, and but you do need to plan to resurface them for safety purposes. And that's about $650,000, and the material would be recycled, so it wouldn't be wasted. And that would include taking out the infill and putting infill back, and putting new grass down. The base is good, so the base would stay, and that's one of the benefits you have from the type of fields that were installed, that you could reuse that. You could improve the GMAX and extend the life of the field by adding a mat or a simple cushion mat, and that helps to extend it. For a small price, you could extend the life of that field. So we would recommend that as well. And the type of infill, there's a lot of alternative fills, but chrome rubber is continuing to be used. It is healthy. There's no health risk. However, there are alternatives. For example, heat is an issue. So you could add a layer of cool play, which is a new material that's been developed, to lower the temperature by 35 degrees. And because it can heat up. So we were excited about using that, and we see half of our fields going in with that topping. So it's a 40 cents per square foot cost, but that's the lowest cost of any alternative to cool the field down. We think it's very functional and wise to consider that. So we've included that in the cost estimates that we provided. We also looked at lights. We looked at temporary lights for about $30,000 a year to have temporary lights that could be brought in, and then $1 million a field to have permanent lights brought in. And they are piped for it, but it would take time with the CEQA period and the cost of lighting, and that's included in that cost estimate as well. That being said, I was wondering if you had any questions.
questions from the board? You have this in front of you. I think all of you have got it.
And you have the plans.
The agenda is failing, so
Right,
I'm looking.
right.
I'm reading it for the first time.
Right.
So, Vince, thank you for the thorough, detailed, programmed review. I really appreciate the depth you've went to make sure we have in our hands something to look at.
Great.
And be able to chew on and talk to the community about. So,
Right.
I haven't read every line. I apologize, but
It's there for you to, at your leisure, to be able to use. It's not going to get out of date.
good work.
So I just have a question. You mentioned the pad and extending the life. How many years are we looking at to extend that life for that
Well, the
cost?
pad itself is a 25-year warranty, and the grass might wear out, but the pad's still good, so you simply replace the grass, and it's a lower cost.
Okay.
So we think that's a good thing to extend the life and safety of any fields that we do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I-
Yes, Terry.
Well, first, thank you for this report. I mean, it's very thorough. I really appreciate the fact that as I was reading through it, I'd have a question or I'd wonder, and then I would read further, I would go back and forth, and the answers were there. And some of the things that you addressed were the different kinds of materials, and then you made a recommendation, obviously, for what makes the most sense based on the reasoning that you put forward. So I appreciate the effort that you put into all that, and I think that we'll be able to make a good decision when that time comes. Some of the other things that you stressed that I thought were important from an ongoing perspective is water. We all know we have a drought situation, and you're citing $35,000 a year in operational costs that we could save
Per field.
per field. Based on making this sort of capital investment. So I again, just more information that helps move forward on something like this that is sorely needed. I was just wondering if, in your experience, I have a couple of questions. Like, are there numbers out there that justify these kinds of fields based on, let's say, a community's population? Are you aware of, is it widespread? I mean, are there towns with 100 people that have these fields, or do you have to have a certain number of?
It's really use-based. And if there's 100 people and they all play soccer, then they will put one in,
Right.
because they can't play all the time without it, and they can't be as safe.
Right. So essentially, it's not only for the students in the classroom, but the community engages in the use of these fields as well.
Exactly, and all these fields were designed with more than one sport in mind, more than one use. So the football, the lacrosse, the soccer, the women's sports, the women's soccer, all would be able to utilize these sports, as well as the community, because your approach to our facilities has always been it's an open door for the community to use and benefit from. So that's a great attitude and a great benefit to this community.
Do communities, or does anybody take, what is the alternative, I guess is my question. If we weren't invested in these kinds of fields, would we be spending more on better kinds of grass fields? I mean, we would be using
You'd
more
be
water.
spending more on grass fields because they wouldn't hold up. The first year of use, you'd be back where you were and you just spent money. So you'd be spending $500,000, and it would be the same way it was a year ago. And that's what we run into, is constantly, because it's overused. Unless you could shut your fields down the way we used to when there was just football, that's no longer an option. So, and we need to keep our kids running and healthy and playing equally as much as we can. So it's an important aspect.
And then I was also wondering, based on your experience, you mentioned the current fields that we have are reaching their lifespan, and so in the world I come from, we have what are called capital replacement accounts, where we
Right.
basically set aside certain amounts of dollars to replace the roofs and the appliances and things along
And
those lines as
exactly.
time moves on. And so, do you see schools or other public agencies, how do they handle this concept of putting money aside on a regular basis, so when these fields reach their lifespan, they have the cash on hand to replace them? Do you have any knowledge or idea what others might do?
Many of them fund for that initially, and then put a small amount toward that fund annually, and it's the athletic fund for just that replacement, knowing it's going to happen. Many of the fields have outlived their warranty, and they've had to, because they hadn't had enough to replace them, for a few more years. Other facilities and districts are partnering with cities and financing through cities. and through financing through field organizations that'll allow you to give a very good rate and allow you to have that field replacement sooner than you might be able to afford it initially. So those are some other options, and I'll get you more as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll follow up with any questions you have. Email me questions, and we'll just follow up and always build on this report when you run into questions and issues, or if you get questions from the public that you want answered, and you don't see the answer here. Okay.
I built a blue card.
Okay, I have one question. Are the fields as they've laid out in these diagrams full dimension, league size?
Larger than they're
Okay, some of ours now, I learned they were substandard, we were playing substandard fields, but
Yes.
these are full, okay.
These
I
are
just
more
want to
than
make
full.
sure
These
that
are the
we're,
largest fields in the county. That
we didn't cut a
we're
corner
developing
and, okay, thank
with
you.
the district athletic directors.
I have some questions or concerns about the schedule that's laid out.
Right, and that was an 18-month schedule, yes.
Okay. Because we talked about the funding for this being from the passage of the bond, and yet we're getting out in front of the bond.
Right, we weren't aware of that. We
Yeah.
were just doing the 2015, and so what you do is just extend that and add 7.5%, which is
So
what we
there's-
estimated as a
There's two things.
escalation.
One is I wouldn't want to get out in front of the money.
Oh, sure.
And secondly, this isn't the first time that we've talked about lights at our fields. And so it's something that would need a lot of community input, a lot of conversation before we would move forward.
And we
At
understand.
least I would feel like.
And we've just done this at San Mateo District, where we met and we presented to the entire district, all the fields getting lights. And not to do it, but to get input. And we had much more positive input than we imagined we would get.
Right.
And so the board was very, very well informed. And I'd like to send that report to you, because I think it was a very informative report of why it makes sense and where.
It is a good
and how to
I'd
build
like to see the
support.
report.
Yeah,
And
I'd
then
be interested in seeing that.
I think we,
Am I-
I think you
I
provided
still had
it.
another
I
question.
think we have that.
I may have sent it, Liz
I
may
think we
have
have
sent
it,
So,
but we'll get it sent.
And then the
Again.
question is the cost for the lighting on the fields, that includes the football area and the soccer?
Well, it's the track and field itself, and
Track and
all the
field.
hard and soft costs. So that's a
not the
complete
soccer
cost.
area, just the
Not the soccer area, just the football
Just the
area.
football field would have the lights.
Right, and we can do the same thing, it's approximately the same.
And it
But
would,
it may not make as much sense at the soccer field to have lights, if you have lights at the
Right.
football, soccer.
That's what I-
That would help to alleviate a lot of the issues.
thank you.
Okay, we have a blue card, and then I want to circle back around with Karen, I think, at some point, so. Ben Philpott? Yeah. And if there's anybody else that'd like to speak on this item, please fill out a blue card and bring it up to us.
Yeah. I just want to say thanks for letting me take a couple minutes to speak to you guys. And I apologize for my appearance. It was Tropical Tuesday today at San Marin. I really just wanted to come here to try to share some information and try to bridge some gap about the discussion of lights and kind of the gap between the neighbors, the athletes, the students, and myself as a coach and a teacher at the school. Looking at the proposal that Vince made, I thought a lot about lights because it seemed like a cheaper solution. And like Charles spoke earlier, he talks about the community's support for spending money in the classroom. And if it was an alternative for a turf field, that I felt that more money could be spent towards the STEM programs, towards arts and things like that, which a lot of my athletes also take part in, and they show that that's something they care about. And I think it's an easy way to get revenue in a non-disruptive way of using cell towers or revenue sources like that really don't cost anything for us, but it's just a consistent flow of money. That was my main concern. My 2 points. First one was the money, and the second one, I thought of the students. With soccer moving to winter, soccer games start, currently they're scheduled for 3 p.m., which is 15 minutes after our 7th period at Sam Wren, and a lot earlier for other schools, I think, get out after 3. So they would have early dismissal for home games and even earlier dismissal for away games. And I calculated it to be between the men's and the women's programs about 1,500 hours of instructional time that would be missed. And I see it with my students, especially the boys soccer program. We're usually a culprit of losing students to academic eligibility. They already struggle doing sports and school. And I hate to think of them missing more class to come play for me and then eventually struggle in both because they're not going to have time to come to soccer when they're falling behind in school. Speaking with some of the local neighbors, I believe with the LED light technology we have that the lighting won't necessarily be the issue. Seeing the new fields that were put up in Petaluma where the fields are lit up and everything else is in darkness, I think their main concern is with noise, and this may, I'm sorry if I'm sharing stuff that you guys already know, but I believe, and I've researched and found things where, I don't know if this was the case at San Mateo, you were saying, Vince, but they had strict guidelines for when the lights could be used and only be used for the school facilities or activities, and limiting the hours that it could be used till and the days per season that it could be used till. I'm sorry. Yeah, I basically just wanted to share that because I feel that lights would be best for the students, especially looking at instructional time and where funds can be spent. Yeah, that's really it. So just thanks for letting me take a couple of minutes of your time.
Thank you. Thanks. Chris? French?
Thank you very much. I'm Chris French. I'm the athletic director at Novato High School, and there's just a couple points I wanted to point out with regard to how this would impact us in a positive manner. We have roughly 200 to 220 athletes who use turf fields throughout the year, from girls lacrosse, boys lacrosse, and track in the spring. And then with soccer, 2 programs, 2 levels, so 4 teams in the wintertime, and then our 3 levels of football, along with cross country in the fall. So a good number of our, over 2/3 of our athletes are involved in some type of sport that is using these facilities. And it's a positive part of our community, it's a positive part of our school environment, and bringing more of those facilities to our students, I think, is just going to promote what we're trying to accomplish as a school culture. With regards to some of the current concerns with so many sports using limited field space, safety becomes an issue. Coaches do a great job of overlapping practices and getting kids out there, but with large numbers, it does become a safety concern having so many athletes out there. With our current grass field, it's a challenge because of it's just condition. With the gopher holes, it's just tough for kids to be out there running for extended periods of time. It's prone to injury. Looking at it, how it would impact us, we talk about the competition improvement of our sports in Marin Catholic Athletic League. We're up against a number of great schools that have multi-use fields, or San Rafael in the case of they actually have lights, so they just have extended practice times. That gives them the opportunity to practice large number of hours without impacting each other. Marin Catholic, full turf field plus an artificial extended turf baseball diamond so that they can have turf sports out there. Drake, both a turf field and extended turf a baseball diamond, in addition to a Red Hill Park that they have access to. So 3 fields that they have access to year round essentially. And Justin Siena having multi-turf fields with lights. So those are the kind of the schools and what they're doing, along with Redwood having 2 turf fields that we're up against with regard to having limited practice space. We want these sports to grow. We want our communities to grow, and with these opportunities, I think a number of youth programs, Novato Youth Lacrosse, Novato Youth Soccer, youth football, being able to use these in the off-season, using them on the weekends, be a great opportunity to help promote athletics in our community, as well as a revenue stream for putting things together like the capitalization, I'm sorry, I forgot that term that you'd use, to replacement, would be a way to keep these fields up and running for an extended period of time. with regard to weather, MCAL is kind of, our Marin Athletic League is kind of scrambling to figure out what happens in the wintertime when there is rain. You know, how our team's going to be displaced, impacting schedules, impacting school and release times. And it's going to be a challenge with limited space over the coming years on how to get all these games in and get these kids playing in safe and unsafe fields so that they can, have this opportunity. The last thing I would say is research has been showing that eventually school times are going to get later and later. So schools are going to be starting later and kids are going to be getting out later. So this reality of the later school day and how that's going to impact our students with all these early releases for athletics is going to become something that we'd have to consider with regard to our facilities. When we have limited facilities, if we have 2 games going on, we're going to be running out of daylight, and kids are going to be not having that opportunity to compete, or they're going to be losing greater amount of instructional time. So those are things that we want to consider when thinking about this opportunity for new fields and new facilities for our school. So. Thank you very much.
Ross?
As a completely separate alternative to solving the problems our athletic directors have addressed, and I don't think it's something I would like to put on future conversations for the board. San Andreas was once called the Field of Dreams, and to take that site and turn it into 4 play fields. At that time, when it was talked about, it was going to be a $4 million excavation, which now seems like cheap.
Yeah.
But basically turn that space that we have available into athletic fields. And the other is the city has facilities out by Indian Valley campus that's already lit. And while they have restrictions on them, maybe we should negotiate with the city and find opportunities when we can get on that field, because that field's open. It has lights and maybe can be played in the evening. The issue is Mr. Latanzio's note that a grass field will only support so many hours of play. But those 2 alternative athletic venues, it seems to me we ought to put in the mix and talk about, as well as the ones we just received a report on today. So future discussion.
Derek?
Well, I'm looking at it from two tracks, I suppose. We have a sort of an immediate need to do something quickly for the upcoming season or seasons while we work on a more long-term situation. I think lights was brought forward, temporary lights was brought forward to extend the current hours that we have on our turf field and possibly our grass fields as well. I suppose we're still studying that, but I think that we have an obligation to figure this out as quickly as we can, temporarily as well as on a long-range perspective. And I recognize that we're talking about a lot of money, but this is amortized over a 30 to 40-year use. We're talking about a city with 56,000 people, and there's tens of thousands of individuals who use these fields. And I think we want to, when we're talking about things like lights and we need to weigh the advantages and the disadvantages, but I guess what I'm trying to say is we want to make sure we're not letting the tail wag the dog here. I think the dog is in need of better facilities year-round, water saving, and the ability to have some extended time into the evening. And I think that's what the community deserves and is asking for. And I think what happens is whenever we bring up the subject of where should we spend our money, or who would object to things like lights, it becomes the tail, sort of a minority position that we shouldn't focus on these things as priorities. And I just don't see it that way. I think that we have, as I mentioned before, numbering in the thousands people who want these fields. And quite frankly, I think these kinds of facilities would greatly add to our lifestyle, the broader base of the community's standard of living and lifestyle. So I think that we should really do our best to come up with a way to solve these problems to the best of our ability. So I look forward to coming up with a short-term solution and then going ahead and getting a plan, one of these versions of the plan that we see here tonight, into our schools as part of our general obligation bond.
So Karen, can you talk about some solutions for the 15-16 season? So these seem to be a lot of I mean, this is a lot of money, long-term. We've got to really look into this. So we've got to solve some, as Derek said, something about this next season. So
Absolutely, and the athletic directors under the leadership of Pam Conklin have been working on that all year. So actually, I'm going to turn it over to Pam.
okay.
Thanks, Karen. No, our ADs and principals have been working on this for over a year now, when based on the original decision that MCAL made over 18 months ago now. Dave Ash is an active participant of the athletic committee as well, and he has in fact surveyed all of our sites, all of our current facilities, and identified those spaces in which we would certainly be able to use those fields for practices in 15-16, and those that may be possible for game sites in 15-16. Looking at things like what Trustee Miller talked about, size, regulations, because of course we would only have our kids play on facilities that are permissible per MCAL guidelines. So we have a list of all of those that are available. There are some changes that may be necessary to them. For example, moving some temporary fences at a Little League field. Little League field's not being used in the winter, so it's not a problem. It's not like we're displacing Little League, but would remove the fence for the short term, replace it. So there may, as we move forward and get closer to the actual season, we may be needing to come forth with, further recommendations as to some minor modifications. MCAL is the league is creating the league schedule, so we will know more about that as well, as both one of the coaches, Ben, shared. The game schedule is being created. And keep in mind, this is a league decision, and we're one school of that league, so we're all having to kind of make a variety of accommodations as we move forward.
Derek, Ross?
Schedule available, the alternatives that Dave said is available for us to review, to read.
Ask that again, I'm sorry.
The report that Dave has been doing that talks about alternatives for 15-16, is there something we can look at?
We can create that. We don't have that tonight for you.
Okay.
He has, Dave has gone to every facility, looked at them, identified. He has a list of what facilities have that space available. We don't have that report for you. I don't want to. Yeah. Think of it as a puzzle. We have to get the game schedule, look at the number, we know the number of teams, and then lay that game schedule onto our facilities. So it's at this point, it's somewhat a cart before the horse to actually look at all of that. It's coming up this summer in August. That's when the work will be done.
When does the play start?
In November.
Yeah, November. Yeah. Derek?
You're saying that.
Well, on the subject of coming up with temporary solutions, Pam, you mentioned some of the league aspects, and I know that we're going to be required to provide facilities that meet, proper size, safety, toilets. I mean, the whole thing. So, I'm not sure if you're suggesting that we're going to move varsity soccer games onto elementary school fields, and how we're going to move the kids around or not. But I suppose for a temporary solution for a short period of time, we'll probably be willing to do almost anything. But I know it's going to be complicated. We're currently planning to work on our 2 middle school fields, and my understanding is that we're basically going to do a simple rototill, float, and reseed or process. And I had mentioned this before, where is there something that we can do to invest more in those 2 particular fields so that they'll be in a position to handle much more use, and also prep for the use of temporary lighting for a season or 2 while we work through a long-term solution.
To your first question, Derek, that after we spoke, that we did go back, meet with our construction manager, Dave Ash, and said that one of the things that we're looking at for next season is a more enhanced resodding of that. So he's working up the estimates to do that. What was brought before you, the board, in March was a cost of about $55,000 each to do a resod. One of the challenges our district, as many are facing, is the watering schedule. So we worked through that with the North Marin Water District and using watering trucks, and there's a lot of logistics around that. And so we're in the middle of looking at what additional dollars would take to bring it to the next level so that we can use those fields longer. So, but what was brought to the board in March was about $55,000 each. And so once we get that estimate, we'll bring back that if there's additional cost. But we certainly heard the request and we're looking into it.
Do we know if either of those two fields are large enough to accommodate soccer fields?
So
And maybe, and if they're not currently, maybe they could be graded out to accommodate a larger
Right.
field of play
So-
without adding too much to the cost. But again, we have to come up with these fields for the next few seasons. And no is not really an answer for this board. So I'd imagine that the direction that you're getting is that we need to sort of make this a priority because November's right around the corner. And unless we're going to start forfeiting league games, we need to
We
come up
have
with a
no
solution.
interest in doing so.
Well, I know,
We wanna
it's
support-
no interest in doing so,
we
but
wanna support- we
it's
can-
my job to worry.
Yes.
Derek,
we
you're
wanna
talking about
support-
temporary solutions.
I'm talking about
Not
doing a
the
little bit more than
million
we had
dollars.
originally planned. Yeah, I don't know what it
Wait.
would cost to make the field look, if you've been to San Jose Middle School, for instance, they tend to drop off radically and go down into some areas that aren't usable, but maybe while we're over there, we could grade them up and turn them into real soccer fields. It could hold off this issue for a few years of use. I'm looking for solutions right now.
And so staff will come back with that proposal, correct?
Right.
We will. I want to reiterate that I think this is our third meeting, perhaps, where this has been a specific item of discussion. And from the beginning, there has been no intent to eliminate soccer. In fact, that has been the absolute goal, that we maintain the level of soccer and the number of teams that we are offering. We have no interest in eliminating soccer in any way, shape, or form for boys or girls. In looking at the fields, Dave knows well the regulations related to the field requirements and has done those measurements, that are required to ensure when we get to the point where we can specifically identify X site that it will be compliant with those requirements. It seems that, to your question around San Jose and or Sinaloa, that they may not be wide enough for a game regulation, but we're determining that with certainty. But if those two sites are not an option, again, we have many other facilities. We have 7 elementary schools that Dave has already identified, as well as the 2 high schools. So we will make it work.
Why are we looking at more fields? I guess I'm confused. I thought we were looking at a temporary solution at our current fields, and now I'm hearing more fields.
The question, Cindy, came from direction from the staff to identify different alternative locations if it was not possible to make Novato and or San Marin playable. So we have looked at every one of our other facilities here in the district to say if San Marin is not a playable space for soccer, is Pleasant Valley or Loma Verde or San Ramon. So we're just looking at all options.
Okay, because I'm looking at temporary because I'm not, and
Yeah.
These
Right.
alternatives
It is.
would only
Right.
be temporary. You're not going to get another report for an upgrade for Loma Verde, as an example.
Okay.
These are temporary alternatives to help us through 15, 16,
okay.
and beyond, depending
Right.
on, what the decisions
Because,
of the board are after
You know,
that.
this is probably going to come out of our reserves.
Necessarily, as you recall, that we still have 2.5 million in our capital outlay fund, and at the last board meeting, the board approved a transfer about 1.5 million that was designated for facilities over into Fund 21. So as we look at the remaining projects and a reserve, if you call that, for future unknown capital requirements until, if that is the decision of the board, to have a bond, and then, of course, upon approval or voting by the community. So that when we look at this again, part of the reason is first looking at the high schools to accommodate that, looking at the fields, then at the 2 middle schools. But one of the challenges also, not just the game day, is the practice time. And as the coach mentioned earlier, we have a daylight challenge, and that is the biggest challenge as we move the sport into the winter time, is now we have a shortened time. So before, when maybe I would say junior varsity, the freshmen and varsity played, they could play back to back on the same field. We may have to have more fields because of less light in the short term. And so staff is working on it and taking all those things into consideration.
Thank you, MCAL.
You're right.
And they didn't even think about the impact, the financial impact to school districts. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and I'd be interested in hearing what our representatives contributed to the conversation.
Derek?
Really, it really makes me angry.
We need to upgrade fields eventually anyway.
I understand that, but, I mean, we're in a position, at least we can fund temporary upgrade. What about other districts who maybe can't?
MCAL's just a bunch of school districts working together.
Bullies.
So I think Cindy's question of how did we participate as a district in the MCAL decision, who represented us, and how can we go back to that table and say it is really a challenge for us in this short a time frame. Let's reopen that conversation. Well, more importantly, so I would like the floor when Debbie, when you call me, I have some points I'd like to make. So I'm just.
Derek?
And our meeting's going too long because my battery just died.
No, I was just going to offer up that
It did.
California interscholastic sports is running a lot. It's a democracy type of situation, and so and nothing is ramrodded. I think you mentioned 18 months ago the process was begun, and actually, Russ, I don't know how our agents voted on this particular issue.
Let's find out.
But I think that the majority of districts regionally and statewide are the ones who force this on everyone. So I don't know that there's anything we can do about it other than accommodate.
Find out who our representative is and ask them.
But what if it gets back to the comment? It's like, this is what I think the majority of people want. They're making this move because it's desired by the population and the communities of the state and the region. So what we should be doing is doing our job to provide the facilities that are necessary that our people want to use.
Mr.
So I have the one question I had for Pam. Pam, just earlier you said that we wouldn't, don't worry, we're not going to give you a report to approve, and use Loma Verde as an example. And I just want to caveat that to say that if we have fields out there at Loma Verde, there isn't even any grass in some of the places. There's gopher holes that are, up to my knee. So we're going to have to put some money out there into repairing and getting these fields up to a point where our kids will be safe when they play these games. So I didn't want people to think that we weren't going to make no investment at all. But if we're going to ask these kids to play on these elementary school fields and such, we're going to have to go out there and make sure that there's grass and they're safe.
And that's part of our bond. That's part of.
Oh, that's next year. I mean, the season starts next year.
Yeah.
Derek, you're right. Thank you for the clarification, and that was my intent when I said that, use the temporary Little League fence as an example, that we are anticipating some need for some work to be done on all of the fields, whatever that, we expect there will need to be some work done at some or all of the fields that we will be using in the 15-16 school year, and perhaps beyond, to your point, for how long it takes us to get whatever fields we do get. My point to Cindy, and I apologize for being somewhat flip about that, was that you're not going to be getting a report or a request for a full study to convert Loma Verde, as the example, to a soccer field. Yes, I fully expect, and I shared that earlier, that I would expect this board to receive a recommendation for some kind of modification to whatever field it is that we use. Gophers are all over this town, in our backyards, right, in our front yards. They're certainly at our school facilities as well. That's going to be an issue.
I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Portable bathrooms, there's going to be needs for facilities.
Okay, so you will come back with us in August at some point with a little more in-depth information and some direction and possible action from the board?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Debbie, I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about a short-term solution. That solution, and the solution to the problem of our soccer teams need to be able to compete in the winter season. And you can fix that by practicing on an elementary field, or playing on an elementary field, or playing on a high school field, or you may be even able to negotiate. If Novato can't provide the facilities, we do a bargain with some other district and play on their fields. There's an administrative alternative that's also possible. So we're not looking at just a field problem. We're looking at the kids need to play problem. And that is a wide, that redefinition of the problem allows you to consider alternatives broader than just finding enough grass.
That's exactly right. And looking even outside the boundary of Novato, we're looking at other fields. Yes.
I mean,
we've looked at IBC. There are other issues there, but yes.
I mean,
so other point.
You're going to do the
That's right. We are.
And I think we can all agree that safety, providing the safety is the #1 priority, and we don't want to put them on a field that is not up to par with the Gophers.
They'll bring back the report, but they'll look at all the alternatives. That's all I want to make sure they do. They don't just narrowly define the problem and then can't find a solution to it because they didn't properly state the problem to begin with.
We're going to be objective.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Vince. Sorry.
Vince,
it was a great report, very thorough. We'll probably be seeing you again. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're moving on.
Yeah, very good news.
Yeah, great news.
Thank you.
Pam, you want to?
We do have some great news. Very happy to share that NFT, our bargaining unit with our certificated staff, ratified our most recent tentative agreement by a vote of 326 to 1. So overwhelming.
Who's the one? Who's the one? Are they out there?
Yes, no, Mr. Dick was definitely not the one. He worked too hard to get this. So we're very, very happy. And so the tentative agreement, or the TA, is, before you tonight for approval. It includes a number of articles, some language changes in deadlines, increases in initial placements with an effort to attract and retain. But the big items, of course, are salary increase and benefit improvements. So the tentative agreement includes a 6% ongoing on the salary schedule salary increase and a 2% one-time off the salary schedule benefit, 2% salary off the salary schedule. Our president, Aaron Fix, did ask me to let you know that he had a conflict tonight, long time scheduled, and our vice president of the union, Mr. John Dick, is here representing NFT. But Aaron did ask that I read this statement. Aaron says, I would like to thank everyone involved in what has been the most collaborative and productive negotiations I have been a part of. The negotiating teams, both sides, showed trust, respect, insight, and a shared vision that has allowed us to make great strides here at NUSD. Teacher morale is up. Schools are working hard to align in Common Core and next generation science standards, and technology continues to grow in the classroom. I think that this is in no small part due to the hard work that took place at the negotiating table for the last several years. NFT is sad to lose 2 members of the team, although happy for their successes, and we hope that we will be able to maintain the current positive collaborative relationship with NUSD in the years to come. Aaron Fix, NFT President. Really very, very kind, very gracious of him and the NFT team. We have been sharing with the board the change that we have been experiencing, and I know that you have received emails and or personal thanks from a variety of teachers with the most recent agreement. I think people are really acknowledging there's been a lot of hard work, and on their behalf, I thank you. So the TA is before you tonight for approval. And Mr. Dick would like to say a few words.
Gotta have a blue sheet.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. I'm John Dick, teacher at Novato High School and NFT Vice President. Just want to reiterate some of the things in Aaron's message. None of this negotiation stuff is easy. It takes a long time. There's a lot of give and take, but greatly appreciative of the work that the 2 teams have done and with the board in terms of this particular settlement. Overwhelmingly, I don't think we've ever had a vote like that where it was over 300 to 1. So clearly the teachers really honor this particular agreement as well. It's your commitment to attract and retaining teachers that that we continually just to say over and over and over again, which is the heart and soul of many things we do here in this district. Most of the things that we see that you've talked about tonight, just most recently the fields, all this stuff takes money, and it's tough decisions that you have to make every single day. This is a decision that we really appreciate, and we know that even though that sometimes the finances of states get better, we know they'll get worse sometimes, and we've been through quite the roller coaster ride over the past several years. But this particular time is, and in the past, the last couple of years have been greatly appreciated. I can remember coming here 4 years ago making a presentation. Some of you remember that. And a lot has changed since then. And let's hope that those types of things continue. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
You bet.
Thank you. So I just want to say that on behalf of the board, we appreciate the work that our teachers have put in over the last couple of years. As I mentioned earlier, as I talked about Dr. Cunningham and the work that we've been able to achieve, the change in education has changed so much, and the expectation that we expect in the classroom from teachers is above and beyond. But it's the way we need to move our district forward and the way our students are asking to be taught in the classroom to go a little bit further, and you have done that. You've stepped up, and that was part of the 2% off the schedule, was really to say thank you. For the hard work that you've put in, and we still want you to still work hard, but we appreciate it, and that was a way of getting that back to you, to say thanks. So, would anybody else, or we need to make a motion on this?
We all
want to move.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to say that the teachers are one of our most cherished assets in this district, and I hope that this is just a reflection of how we really feel about your good work and serving our children in this district. So on behalf of all of us, thank you so much. We appreciate it very much.
Okay.
And with that, I guess we'll move.
Yeah.
I'll make the
Ellen
motion.
made the motion. Derek, you want a second? Yeah. Cindy will second. Okay. All in favor? 7-0. 6-0. Oh, boy, I've made so many mistakes tonight. Yeah, 1 absent. 6-0, 1 absent. Okay, the next item is our AB 1200, which is follows right behind.
So I will move approval of the AB 1200.
Okay. You're going to do that with the Fields decision? You're just going to move? Yeah, that comes with turfing the high school fields. Okay, we need a second. We need a second?
I
Yes.
just want to say thank you, but on your table are the schedules,
Yes.
salary schedules. It says draft because until it's approved, they
Got
are
it.
drafts. So this is here for you as you adopted the, or ratified the increase, that this is the schedule that will go forward. And really, to the team, teachers and the board, that really take a lot of pride that I think we are the only district that is settled for next year in 15-16. And our teachers can, start off the summer with that. So that's a lot to be proud of. But anyway, as your CFO, assistant superintendent of business, certainly will sign the certification that says that we can afford this. So I urge you to approve the AB 1200.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, so we have a motion from trustee Millerick. Second? Shelley's going to second. She's going to hog to both of them. All in favor to approve the AB 1200? 6-0, 1 absent. Yay.
So,
Great job.
One comment, Mr. Dick, and I hope you and your colleagues enjoy a summer knowing how much you're appreciated in the classroom. Thank you.
All right, we'll see everybody. The 16th of June is our next regular board meeting. Meeting adjourned.